Israel defying condemnation from Arab states, stepping up airstrikes into Syria to seal off a buffer zone and to stop rebel groups seizing weapons belonging to the ousted Assad regime. Syria's new transitional prime minister has called for Syrians who have sought refuge abroad to return to their homeland. This comes just days after the country is still grappling. This comes as the country continues to grapple with the end of a civil war, following the ouster of longtime President Bashar al-Assad over the weekend. Appointed by rebel group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, Mohammed al-Bashir has given reassurance to his people that the rights of all people and all sects in Syria will be guaranteed. Bashir ran the rebel-led Salvation government in northwestern Syria before the 12-day lightning rebel offensive swept into the capital, Damascus. He's calling for calm and stability and has done so since stepping into this new position. The country's diverse communities, including Christians, Kurds and Alawites, are now waiting for what sort of government Bashir will lead. Meanwhile, Israeli forces continue to strike deeper into Syria, claiming to have destroyed some of the country's strategic weapon stockpiles in just the past 48 hours. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has given the reaffirmation that the incursion is temporary and has denied concerns of a land grab. And for more, we're joined by Philip Crowther. He joins us live from the Syrian capital of Damascus. Philip, as we just mentioned, it's just days since the ouster of former President Bashar al-Assad, and the people there grappling with what might come next. There is a caretaker prime minister, but long term, they do not know what kind of government they will actually get. How are they feeling?
Yeah, you're right to mention how few days it has been since the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad, but we expect today to be another fourth day of celebration, at least in the square you can see behind me. This is Umayyad Square in central Damascus. There's an abandoned tank there from the Syrian army. It's not the only piece of military hardware that was abandoned by Assad's soldiers who decided to give up their posts, essentially. We saw several of them on the road from the Lebanese border into the capital here of Damascus. So we expect there to be further scenes of celebration. But of course, there is an attempt to return to daily life here in the capital and also in other parts of Syria as well, of course. Banks and shops, in part at least, have opened again. On the diplomatic front as well, you are seeing very, very quick changes with, for example, Qatar deciding that it is going to reopen its embassy here in Damascus. Russia, which of course has a huge military presence on the coast here in Syria with a naval base and an air base, they have said that they are in contact with what essentially are the new authorities here, with the rebels who took over the capital city so quickly just those 4 days ago. But those people who want a return to normal life also want an improvement, of course. This is a country, after all, that is in the economic doldrums and under a new leadership with the absence of Bashar al-Assad. They will want an improvement in their daily lives. So that is now down to the current leadership here in Syria to do that. And that current leadership, well, those are the rebels that came into town just a few days ago. The group of insurgent groups that's led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, and its interim prime minister now, Mohammed al-Bashir, now at the head of the country, essentially. They are the ones who are expected to essentially provide an orderly transition for Syria. And in these last 4 days, it has certainly been that. It has been an orderly and peaceful transition.
Perhaps one of the reasons for this orderly transition so far is the new, whoever might be in charge right now in Syria, they are making the right moves. They are certainly making the right noises. The caretaker prime minister coming out to say the rights of all people and all sects in Syria will be guaranteed, which is important given the level of division on religion, on ethnicity and political allegiance within Syria. At this point, is the hope of unity and coming together for common purpose, is that likely?
I didn't hear all of your questions there, but let me just give you an update on what we are seeing here on the ground, and in terms of also how other nations are reacting to this very quick change here in Syria. We have heard, for example, from the United States saying that it wants to see free and fair elections here in Syria. Remember that the transition period official, it only goes until the 1st of March. That is when the interim Prime Minister, Mohammed al-Bashir, in theory, leaves his position for somebody else to take it over. We don't know really what the future holds in terms of what a government might look like here in Syria once that transition period comes to an end. The United States, if it wants to have a diplomatic relationship with this new regime here, of course, would have to take the group, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is essentially in power here now in Syria, would have to take it off its list of terrorist groups that it is currently on. We do expect, by the way, the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken in Turkey in the next few days to talk about Syria with his counterpart there. Remember also, of course, there is an incoming US administration here, and President-elect Donald Trump has said that he does not want to see any US involvement here in Syria. The US, of course, still very much battling the Islamic State organization in another part of Syria. That is still a reality on the ground. This is not a united country right now. This is still a country in a state of civil war. The Syrian rebel group that has now got control of Damascus also made gains in the east of the country, gaining control of Deir el-Zor, for example. So this is maybe the rebel group that can become clearly right now not just the main opposition group, but the group that is in power and that might be able to consolidate large parts of this country. But that is not the case right now.
Oh, thanks for that. Philip Crowther speaking to us there from Damascus. Now, Philip was talking about possible, what might happen because of external influence, external involvement in what's happening in Syria, and Israel is certainly one of those factors that we will have to consider. For more insight from Israel itself, we speak to Trent Murray live. He's on the border between Israel and as well as Syria. Trent, we spoke to you last night. At that point, Israel was already stepping up strikes into Syria, both in the air and on the ground. What gains has it made over the last few days?
Well, the IDF is keeping slightly tight-lipped about what it is up to, citing operational reasons, but they have confirmed that they have seized control of that demilitarised zone, which is just behind that fence there. You can see IDF assets, though, are continuing to move into this area. A very noisy Merkaba tank down there and its crew, and we've seen that throughout much of today. Certainly a lot of the roads in this area are chopped up from those heavy tanks moving through. It is in the sky, though, where there has been a lot of focus and where the Israelis are saying a lot more. They have confirmed that they've targeted upwards of 350 sites across Syria, effectively trying to take out the remnants of the Assad regime's old military. As Philip was saying, those soldiers have abandoned those bases and the Israelis have sprung into gear and used that opportunity to basically destroy them. Now, their justification is that those weapons, those planes, those tanks are things that they don't want to fall into the hands of extremists. But of course, there is also criticism. Many in this region, including Turkey and Egypt and Saudi Arabia, have said that Israel is using what happened in Syria and the fast a collapse of Assad's regime to basically seize this territory for itself and use the opportunity for its own gains. Now, right now, again, the Israeli government is saying this is temporary, that they're doing this given the state of play right now in Syria, but many in this region are wondering whether this sort of military manoeuvring that we're seeing could be a precursor of something permanent over that side of the fence. We will just have to wait and see, but indeed this is a huge geopolitical shift in this region and we are seeing it play out right here on the ground.
Well, thanks. Trent Murray reporting live there from the border between Syria and Israel. Of course, Syria, as Trent mentioned, carrying out airstrikes, hundreds of airstrikes, as well as moving its ground forces into a UN-controlled demilitarized zone inside of Syria.